Welcome to beautiful Barcelona in Spain. So beautiful, in fact, is this fine city that the late, great Freddie Mercury was commissioned to write a song commemorating this city, although that was probably more to do with the fact that the then forthcoming Olympic Games were to be held in Barcelona back in 1992. This very circuit, in fact, hosted the Olympic cycling over 3 decades ago. And of course, is the home of the Spanish Formula One Grand Prix, and this weekend hosts the championship final, the International GTOpen series, which got underway back at Paul Ricard in the south of France. Earlier on in the year, we have crisscrossed the European continent, and we arrive here in the Catalan capital. This is Barcelona in the northwest of Spain, not too far from the French border. And the cars are on the grid for the 14th and final time in what has been a magnificent 2021 International GTOpen series. If you missed race 1 yesterday, Frederic Schandorf and Michele Beretta, they limped to the line with tortured tyres and fading brakes. 7th place was enough for them to claim the championship. It has already been decided, as we look at one of the AF Corsa Ferrari cars come up onto the grid. Osvaldo Negri joins us with the 2-car strong AF Corsa team of Amato Ferrari, who are here with us. Andy Soucek missed out on the championship yesterday. He gave it absolutely everything. It is now mathematically out of reach. But Andy, who starts a little bit further back on the grid than he would like, the 5th row, grid 10, in his second home race of 2021. Lines up immediately behind Gerhard Twereza. This car was on the podium yesterday, Baptiste Moulin. Car 19 starts out of position 19, and that is the view from Michele Beretta's car. Qualified 12th this morning, but will start from grid 15 after a pit lane incident in qualifying, an unsafe release, and collected the 24 Porsche car. The Cup car, there was damage to both of them. As we look at the pole sitter, Joe Osborne in the McLaren, who will start out of grid 1 for the 3rd time in 2021. The Mercedes cars have dominated thus far this weekend. They took pole position yesterday. They finished 1-2 in the race. But it is a McLaren of a Brit, the British driver, the British supercar on pole position. The French driver, Thomas Drouet, finished 2nd yesterday, sharing the car with Jim Pla. He took pole for race 1 yesterday, slightly shorter race distance, 70 minutes yesterday, 1 hour exactly today. Ollie Milroy, grid 3, the 2nd Inception Racing McLaren. The twin-turbo V8 4-litre British supercar. If anyone can beat the Mercedes, which are ubiquitous on the grid, it may well be the team from England. Loris Spinelli out of grid 4 for the Antonelli Motorsport team. They limp to the line. This is Robbie Foley, who will start the 97 TF Sport Aston Martin out of grid 5. This is the car that won race 2 at the Red Bull Ring. Sam DeHaan and Charlie Eastwood behind the wheel in the rain on that occasion. Yesterday, Ethan Simeoni took the victory for the 2Cs Motorsport team along with Martin Kodric. Another victory for the Croatian and Canadian combination. And Carol Bash, 777. The Polish team, 4 Polish drivers here. This is Carol behind the wheel, the 2015 World Kart Racing champion, alongside Gerhard Twereza. This is interesting because Gerhard and Carol came together in the dying stages of the race yesterday. Would you believe they start side by side for race 2 here this afternoon. Adam Carroll, the Northern Irishman, one of the most experienced drivers on the grid, has raced absolutely everything. Adam, to give it his best shot, he's raced in IndyCar, A1 GP, all sorts of GT categories, sports cars as well. Starts out at grid 9. Andy Soucek, as we say, the Spanish-Austrian driver, his 2nd home race of the year. Marcus Pavarud, car 11, out of grid 11. And that is Jans Renault Moller to the right of your screen. Marcus will take the start. The Norwegian-Danish combination, the 2nd Olymp racing car. Good performance in qualifying by Christian Korsanowski. In car 5, sharing the car with Stanislav Jedlinski. Young Christian up from single make racing in the east of Europe and steps up to GT3 for the final few rounds of the International GTOpen Series. Dominic Schrammel, great to have The 15 car back on the grid, twin bush by Equip Vitesse. Mario Hirsch sharing the car with Dominic. Daniel Diaz Varela, former champion in the championship, the International GTOpen Championship, sharing the car with Jean Font. And this is the championship winning car, talking about cutting it fine because they're back on grid 15. Lucky they put it out of reach yesterday because they've had a disastrous run thus far this morning. Starting back on grid 15, we go to Hugo Delacour in the 52 AF Ferrari. The 4-litre twin-turbo V8. This is his teammate, Osvaldo Negri. The American combination, sharing the car with Jay Schreibman. Racing with us from the Ferrari Challenge North America Series. Nicolas van Dierendonck in car 53, sharing the car with Dirk Schouten. They are the first Cup category car. Dirk offering us a drink. Danke well, Dirk. And Yuki Namoto, Baptiste Moulin, position 3 yesterday, but grid 19 for car 19. Baptiste the Belgian sharing the car with Yuki, who's back from a quick trip home to Tokyo to join us for the final round of the series. Jan Morrison, who has won in the GT Cup category a couple of times already in 2021. Bas Schouten is behind him in car 50. Sharing the car with Philippe Turnkens, another Belgian-Dutch combination. Albert Estraguez, the local driver, 215 with the Swiss, August Macbeth. It is a GT4 Mercedes. And then we go to, can we say it for the first time this year, the boys from Brazil. Fernando Fortes makes the trip over from the other side of the Atlantic. Great to have the 360 racing team with us on the grid. Fernando, car 32, Eugenio Pisani, car 44. The Northern Italian team, another Cup racing car. Mark Spikavas is just behind in car 45. This is Mark out of grid 25. Jan Klingelberg is sharing car 991 with Dino Zamparelli, the second generation racer for Valuga Racing, and on the final grid position, Oscar Aristot. Also for the 360 racing team, Os Meninos do Brasil, Oscar. Great to have so many of you watching live from Brazil. Oscar and Mauro Marcio in car 27. Out of grid 27, coincidentally enough. That is the grid. This is the final shootout, the final race of what has been a magnificent 2021 International GTOpen Championship. We've raced 13 times so far in 2021. These are the highlights of race 13, 24 hours ago. Up to the line, Jim Pla led the field away. And it was a Mercedes Lamborghini, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ethan Simeone, who would take over Martin Kodrich, who was briefly up into third place, fighting with Yuki Namoto. Maciej Blasik and Maciej Laszowski sewing up, wrapping up the GT Cup Championship. There was some hectic racing further back in the pack. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair desperate to hand over the car in the best possible position to his teammate Andy Soucek. The final stages of the race, Janos taken out in an incident with the 215 car of August Macbeth. That brought out the safety car. Ethan Simeone and Martin Kodrich taking their second victory of 2021. As Schandorf and Beretta came home in P7 to wrap up the title. Schandorf and Beretta have won the championship. They cannot be beaten. Andy Soucek looking to cement third place with his teammate Al-Faisal Al-Zubair and Baptiste Moulin. Yuki Namoto also for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. 1-3 for the VSR team. On board with Fernando Fortes, car 32 starts out at grid 23. Magnificently presented Porsche cars, racing with us from the Carrera Cup Series over in Brazil. For the final time in 2021, we race the International GTOpen Championship. This is the grid. Joe Osborne on pole position with Thomas Drouet, who finished second yesterday on grid 2. The second row of the grid is another McLaren, that of Ollie Milroy, and the super experienced Loris Spinelli in a repaired AKM Mercedes out of grid 4. The American Robbie Foley out of 5 in the Aston Martin alongside yesterday's race winner, the Canadian Ethan Simeoni. Carol Bash, 777 out of car 7 for Olymp Racing, and Gerhard Torres, car 17, the Green Tiger, out of 8. Adam Carroll in the Sol Audi alongside Andy Soucek, 10th on the grid, 2nd in the championship in the Lechner Racing Porsche. Marcus Pavarud, car 11, the Honda, out of grid 11. Christian Korsanowski, great job from the pole in qualifying to start on the outside of the 6th row of the grid. Dominic Schrammel, Daniel Diaz Varela, the Spaniard at his home race out of 14. Michele Beretta, the champion, back on 15th on the grid alongside the 52 Ferrari of Hugo Delafcourt. Then we go to Oswaldo Negri, who is alongside Dirk Schouten, the first of the GT Cup cars. And just behind, Baptiste Moulin, 3rd yesterday, but the Belgian Baptiste, car 19, grid 19. Jan Lauritsen in another Cup car, back in grid 20. Then it's Bas Schouten, as the Benelux drivers keep on coming, alongside the Spaniard in the GT4, Albert Estraguez, Fernando Fortes, Eugenio Pisani. Grid 25, car 45, Mark Spiekervas in yet another Porsche, alongside the Swiss driver Jan Klingelberg and Oscar Aristo. Ian Silvestrin with you in commentary, joined by Ida Wood. This is the final shootout of what has been a magnificent 2021 GTOpen Championship.
Yep, unfortunately we've only got 27 cars on the grid. We had 29 at the start this weekend, but damage picked up earlier on. The Artianos car in GT Cup Open Europe won't be starting, so we have 14 rows, I believe, and our 2 Vincenzo Superior Racing Lamborghinis did in fact get grid penalties. There was an unsafe release in qualifying. There was a crash between the number 24 Porsche and the number 63 Lamborghini, and it may as well be, I think it is actually the number 24 Porsche that won't be starting this race because of that. But the number 63 Lambo, that got docked 3 places, and the second VSR Lambo, I spotted as well, is down in 19th. It didn't qualify in 19th place, but it's going to be starting down there.
The sun is shining here in Spain. The championship has already gone the way of Vincenzo Sospiri Racing and Frederick Schandorf, along with Michele Beretta. Joe Osborne, the Brit in the British supercar, on pole position. There is the view, the Inception Racing Garage. Nick Moss, who will take over the McLaren, car 72, which starts on pole position. Thomas Drouet finishing second yesterday on the 2nd row of the grid. Jim Pla down in pit lane gives us a smile. For the final time in 2021, the GTOpen International Championship is about to roar into life. Welcome to Barcelona here in Spain. Joe Osborne in the McLaren leads the field up to the line. The 5 red lights for the final time in 2021. We race. Joe Osborne, a perfect start from the Brit. And the McLaren supercar leads the field down into turn 1 side by side with Thomas Drouet. But the horsepower of the Mercedes, they just drive past the McLaren. Joe initially with the jumpers. Loris Spinelli cuts the circuit. He is not the only one to do so. Rejoins on the outside of turn 2. Thomas Drouet has got the lead. Joe Osborne initially the jump from pole position, now trying to work his way back. A lock up from Thomas Drouet in front, goes a little bit wide. Here's an opportunity to get 3 wide as they exit Repsol corner. And Joe Osborne, a super piece of driving. He lost the lead down into turn 1, but he's retaken the top spot. Nice pass, opportunistic, but he took his chance, and Joe Osborne, who was muscled out the way in the opening few corners, has gone back in to lead before the end of the first lap. The McLaren from the two Mercedes, his teammate, that's Ollie Milroy in P4. Adam Carroll in the 22 Audi going through. He's made a nice start as well. Right behind yesterday's race winner, Ethan Simeone. You ride on board with Andy Soucek.
Soucek's currently in 6th place. We're seeing the two Lamborghinis behind. That is the HB Racing International car and the VSR car side by side going up for the reprofile turn 10. Contact again at the exit of the corner. So they've lost momentum to the cars ahead of them there. Pretty shifty stuff there. Loris Spinelli and turn 1, lap 1 under investigation. I don't think he went around the marker you have to take when you go way too wide through turn 1. So that is going to be under investigation by race control right now as we come to the end of the lap. Joe Osborne, brilliant 2-in-1 move down the inside of turn 4. He's going to come across the line. It is a 1 minute 51.39, 7/10 of a second up on Loris Spinelli. Thomas Drouet in 3rd, Ollie Milroy in 4th, Carol Bash doing a really good job in 5th place, Andy Soucek in 6th. And you can see that gap between our top 4 cars at 5th place already. Further behind, you've got 3 Lamborghinis in a row, really trying to recover places. And in fact, Michele Beretta and Baptiste Moulin are in 10th and 11th place already. They started, I believe, in 16th and 19th, so brilliant first lap for those two cars. Obviously a lot of power in those Lambos.
Bas Shelton making his way through behind, or just ahead of Jan Lauritsen. Yes, a good start from the VSR duo. And what about Andy Soucek from grid 10? He's already up into 6th place, trying to fight with the McLarens and the 3 Mercedes ahead of him. There is Andy in 6th place behind the pole, Carol Bash in the 777 Olymp fluorescent yellow Mercedes. Just trying to stay in touch with Ollie Milroy. On the second lap of the race, this is Andy Soucek, the Lechner Racing Porsche, the sole entry from Lechner Racing. They have put in a superb campaign throughout 2021. They'll come up short in the championship. Andy will finish 2nd. There's the VSR cars going through.
And it's already got a rear left wheel arch flapping off. Actually, that's a HP car. So when those two collided, the VSR car got past, but at the expense of quite a bit of bodywork for the other Lamborghini.
Gerhard Torreza, so the 3 green Lamborghinis are racing together. Beretta, 63 in 10th, Moulin, 19 in 11th, and Gerhard Torreza, car 17, the Green Tiger, with bodywork hanging off as he fends off from Marcus Pavarud, who's dropped back a couple of positions off the start. Soucek going through as you ride on board with an aggressive Michele Beretta. He's all over the back of yesterday's race winner, the Canadian Ethan Simeone. The 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes ahead of the virtually identical car, the repaired car from Antonelli Motorsport. Loris Spinelli, that is. Beretta just getting the 2 Italians mixed up. So Simeone ahead of Beretta, apologies. He's of course in the Lamborghini. Spinelli in the identical car. That is the Mercedes, which are running, what, 2nd, 3rd, 5th. 3 of them inside the top 10. Bas Shelton going through in the Cup class cars, but it is the McLarens. The Mercedes have dominated thus far this weekend, as we mentioned in our opener. Pole position yesterday, a 1-2 in the race, but this morning Joe Osborne, pole position in the twin-turbo V8 McLaren, the British supercar, and the British driver, after getting mauled off the start, he's fought his way back brilliantly into the lead as the 53 car of Dirk Schouten, Nicholas van Dierendonk go through in the Cup class cars. So the Mercedes versus the McLarens. They were in combination if we go back to Formula 1 racing a couple of decades ago. In fact, they still are, aren't they? They're not painted silver anymore.
They've rejoined together, and that was pretty much how Lewis Hamilton got into F1, with the support of Mercedes and McLaren. It was them together. Looking at the 97 Aston Martin, shame it's not a 007, would be more appropriate.
Another British supercar.
Yeah, James Bond connections there. At the front of the field, Joe Osborne obviously started from pole. He's taken pole a few times this year. And we haven't seen the onboard of how he got back into the lead, but he's posted the onboard on his Twitter of yesterday's 4-in-1 move at the final corner. So I imagine he had that in the back of his mind, thinking, I can make another great overtake for social media here. And that's how he got back ahead at turn 4. And he's already 1.4 seconds clear, another fastest lap, 1 minute 46.444. Spinelli in 2nd place, Drouet in 3rd, Ollie Milroy, who was previously fastest, is in 4th. So the McLarens, in these warmer temperatures of this afternoon, look a little stronger than they were this morning when, although they took pole, it was the Mercedes actually that tended to be the faster car.
Michele Beretta still in position 10. That's yesterday's race winner, Ethan Simeone. So yesterday's race winner, car 9, with the newly crowned champion, Mike Beretta, right behind as they settle into a rhythm. We've already passed the opening stages of this race. This is lap 4 of this 1 hour race. Beretta in the Lamborghini lines up the Mercedes 2Cs Motorsport, which started the 2021 season with a victory in the Golf 12 Hours. Former British GT Championship winning team, the Canadian-Croatian combination. They won in the rain at Monza. They won 24 hours ago yesterday. At the moment, car 9, position 9. Ethan Simeone from the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. Hasn't got the experience of the driver that you ride on board with, Michele Beretta, but wow, Ethan Simeone has certainly held his own in this world-class international GTOpen field. Speaking of world-class drivers, that's Adam Carroll going through. Probably one of the most experienced drivers in the field, as we mentioned. Has raced prototypes, has raced IndyCar, A1 GP. He's a star in GT racing. The sole Audi here, car 22 in position 8, with yesterday's race winner Simeone and the champion Michele Beretta right behind the 22 machine, which goes down through the chicane now. Osborne continues to lead 1.6 seconds from Spinelli.
And we look at the battle now at the bottom of the top 10. The second VSR Lambo is just a few tenths of a second behind them as well. So that is the Baptiste Moulin car, which will be handing over to Yuki Namoto later today. Gerard Teresa in 12th place, and actually the bodywork is still, you know, kind of hanging off the car, so it hasn't been brushed off with any kind of further contacts, which will help the aerodynamics in a way if they can do that. But obviously you don't want to risk it as Spinelli goes wide, and down the inside goes the Mercedes of Thomas Drouet. That is for second place overall at turn 3. Going to turn 4, he's now completed the move. Ollie Milroy right on their tail, so a 3-car battle for second place. 3 seconds though already in the clear is Joe Osborne up front. Spinelli looks like he's going to lose another place here. He's left the door wide open, going fairly slowly through that corner, and now he's going to be under pressure from Kyle Bash as well. So that is second to 4th in the space of 300 meters, and it really looks like it could be 5th.
Spinelli almost certainly with a problem. The Mercedes trade positions, and Milroy follows him through. Carol Bash will not need to be asked twice. The 777 car of the pole.
And it looks like
Suchek right behind.
There's a lot of smoke. Is that potentially the same issue as yesterday?
Yesterday was just actually crash damage as Carroll dives down the inside cautiously, because that's where it came together yesterday with Gerhard Teresa. Spinelli runs wide. He's certainly got a problem. He's slowing. We expect the Antonelli Motorsport team. In fact, they're waiting down in pit lane. We can see the AKM team waiting for Loris Spinelli. They're down in pit lane. Carol Bash goes through. We'll try and get a camera down into the box. Spinelli will pit this lap. There he goes. Spinelli with a problem. Yesterday, there was crash damage which smashed the left side exhaust, and they were losing 5M at 10% of the power. So Spinelli down into pit lane. This is an unscheduled stop. Loris Spinelli into the box. The Antonelli Motorsport team go to work. The front splitter is loose, so it's crash damage once again.
Yeah, so it must have been rubbing against the curb and the ground when we saw that puff of smoke. Here's a replay of Carol Baz trying to go down the inside of turn 10. Initially couldn't do it at first, but just Spinelli was so slow at going back uphill that the door was wide open, and that allowed Suchek through as well. So he's now in 5th place. Adam Carroll in 7th place in the Audi. Loris Spinelli was in 8th the previous lap, but he's now probably down outside the top 20 even. There's a number 44, so that is our GT Cup Open Europe cars have already gone past. He is going to come out the pits. He does come out the pits in last place. And no, he's getting out of the car. We can see from our commentary box position, yeah, that's a sad end to the race for AKM.
Marco Antonelli, team owner, to the left of your screen, speaking with his driver. Wow, what a disappointment for Loris Spinelli, who was running inside the top 3. They have retired. Florian Schultz will not drive this afternoon. So everyone else moves up a place. Joe Osborne driving brilliantly out front. He's the Brit. He's got almost 4 seconds over this battle between Thomas Drouet, yesterday's pole sitter on the podium yesterday, the French team, or the French drivers with the ACA Sport team, and his teammate, Ollie Milroy. So Inception Racing, a run 1-3, and the first crack in the wall for the once dominant mark of Mercedes. Second place, but the McLarens run 1-3 in the final race. of the 2021 GTOpen International Championship. We go back to Jan Lauritsen, the Belgian flag, on car 54. Jan Lauritsen in P2 behind Bas Schalten. This is the battle on your screen now between the Dutch-Belgian drivers for the lead in the GT Cup Open class. Back to the outright battle for second place. Thomas Drouet, car 87 for the world-class ACA Motorsport team. Ollie Milroy just behind for Inception Racing. Speaking about world-class teams, Inception Racing also doing a lot of racing in the last few seasons when it was possible. Even this year over in Asia, they raced in the Asian Le Mans Series as well. The Dubai 24-hour race. Brendan Irebe, Ollie Milroy claiming the Pro-Am category. And their teammate Joe Osborne is leading the Pro-Am category and the race outright. Thomas Drouet in second place. Carol Bash up into position 4. This is a stunning drive. It's just lost a bit of place. There is Carol coming through in the 777 car. Andy Soucek, Robbie Foley in the Red Bull Ring winning Aston Martin. That's Adam Carroll. Simeone, Mike Beretta in car 63. As we pass the 12-minute mark of the final race, this is the 14th race of a magnificent International GTOpen Championship. Beretta just feints down the inside, tries to intimidate the Canadian Ethan Simeone, who runs a little bit wide. Beretta will have the run. The newly reprofiled turn 10. Thomas Drouet in second place. The McLaren's looking good here this afternoon. So we go McLaren, then Mercedes, McLaren, then Mercedes. Andy Soucek from grid 10. He's already up into position 5 on the back of the pole as they race down the start-finish straight over 260 k's an hour. That's Adam Carroll. Simeone still driving superbly, keeping the reigning champion Michele Beretta behind him. An outstanding performance from the Canadian. It's a big jump racing GT4 over in North America, the Canadian Championship, the Canadian Touring Car Championship, in his GT3 2Cs Motorsport monstrous Mercedes. He won the race yesterday, his second of the 2021 season, and the champion cannot get past.
Yeah, and a front-engine GT3 car is a very different beast to a mid or rear-engine GT4 machine, particularly on the Canadian circuits as well. Very different, very undulating as well. Carol Bash currently in 4th place, doing an incredible job. We've said probably several times this season, you know, he looks very impressive, and that's because he is. But you know, he was previously doing karting, then he did a little bit of single seaters briefly, but it's in sports cars where he immediately found his feet and has become a really solid driver. And he's in 4th place at the moment, but I think on the pit stop penalty time or handicap time, so depending on how well he did in the previous race, that will distinguish how long your pit stop's going to be. And I think he could benefit from this success handicap and actually come out at the end of the first stint on top, because he is only 6.9 seconds behind Joe Osborne, who has a 4.6 second lead over Thomas Drouet, who you see on screen right now, trying to hold off Ollie Milroy. Milroy can't find a way through. It's particularly tricky through a lot of these corners, turn 1 being the obvious one where you are going to make a move. We've seen some attempts at this final chicane here have often ended in collisions or a bit of wheel banging. And as they cross the line, that's 8 laps completed for Joe Osborne at 1 minute 46.5. Drouet crosses the line 4.8 seconds. So they're losing 3 or 4 tenths a lap to Joe Osborne at the moment. So Osborne's doing a very good job knowing that when he hands over to Nick Moss because it's a Pro-Am car, he's going to have that little bit less of an advantage once they're out of the pit lane. So he needs to do a really good job in this first stint of the race. We go back to the leading of the VSR Lambos, which is the number 63 car down in 9th. That served a 3-place grid penalty because of a crash in qualifying where got released from the pit lane, hit a GT Cup Open Europe Porsche, which sadly hasn't started this race. And he is currently in 9th place. His teammate Baptiste Moulin really not showing the pace today. Several seconds further back in 10th and clean air. Surprised he hasn't been able to stay with Beretta. And then just behind them is the 3rd Lambo, but that's a HP Racing International, and that is driven by Gerhard Schrazer.
A glimpse of Brendan Irebe down in pit lane, the American. He'll take over the McLaren at the pit stop window, which is not too far away from opening. Joe Osborne, the fastest driver on the circuit, 5 seconds down the road. There goes the 72 car back to Thomas Drouet, who has withstood the challenge from Ollie Milroy. This is Carol Bash, car 777 from Andy Soucek, Robbie Foley in the Aston. Adam Carroll now up into 7th place. Simeone still with Beretta. Moulin and Tuarez are behind. Simeone, the Canadian, with 3 V10s behind him. That's what, 30 cylinders of Lamborghini horsepower. And they still cannot get by the normally aspirated V8. Mind you, it's a monstrous 6.2 litre powering the Mercedes of Simeone's car. So Baptiste Moulin started at grid 19. He's already up into 10th place. And that bodywork from Gerhard Tuarez's 17 car has, well, let's just say it's disappeared. It's no longer an issue. Down into turn 1, Thomas Drouet, he's put 0.8 of a second, starting to extend the gap just slightly onto Ollie Milroy. The 31-year-old driver from Britain, a lot of experience racing, pretty much GT racing ever since, what, a single season, a couple of seasons, Formula BMW, Formula Renault, back in the United Kingdom over a decade ago, has made a name for himself as a world-class GT driver in Europe and in Asia, taking wins in the Asia Le Mans Series. He was 4th back in the Blancpain GT Series in Asia in 2016. He's got so much experience racing in International GTOpen, the British Series as well. European Le Mans as well for Ollie Milroy, and he's P3 at the moment. This is Carol Bash. We spoke about the pole. He is a world-class driver. He has raced with and beaten Carlos, Max, Charles, as we look at the newly crowned champion, Frederick Schandorf, talking with Yuki Nomoto. Carol Bash has beaten half the grid that will line up for the American Formula One Grand Prix in Austin, Texas tonight. Carol Bash has gone wheel to wheel when he won and beat all of those drivers in the 2015 World Kart Racing Championship at Le Concours in the south of Italy. Jordan Lennox was 2nd, and Nicholas Nielsen, he was 3rd for the Tony Kart team, who actually won the Spa 24-hour race. Carol Bash has beaten all those drivers. He's in position 4 as the 2 Lamborghinis from different teams. Same colour though, but they're getting very close to each other. Gerhard Tuarez on the back of the Belgian Baptiste Moulin. We saw their teammates down in pit lane getting ready for the stops, which are imminent. Baptiste Moulin will hand over to Yuki Nomoto, Gerhard Tuarez to Jan Seifert, Michele Beretta to Frederick Schandorf, the Great Dane, the newly crowned champion, outright after winning the Pro-M category in 2019. We'll get behind the wheel of car 63, which is still in 9th place. Ethan Simeone has driven away. He's in P8. The first stops are imminent. The final race of the 2021 International GTOpen Championship from Barcelona here in Spain.
Yep, and we've just seen that there's been reprimands handed out to several drivers. That is for on turn 1 on the first lap, rejoining around the bollard rather than going to the left of it, cutting the corner. That included Spinelli, whose car is being wheeled into the pits now and is totally out this race. Jan Lauritsen, who's fighting for GT Cup Open Europe honours, and I believe the 77 car, so Andy Soucek as well. Soucek has received a reprimand for the same offence. Hopefully we won't see that again, because that tends to be a lap 1 thing where there's lots of drama happening. Soucek currently in 5th place. We've been concentrating on the cars behind him, Michele Beretta and Ethan Simeone in particular, but Soucek doing a very solid job, but he just can't close in on Carol Bash. He is doing a very strong job defending as the number 17 Lambo looks down the inside of Gerhard Tuarez looks down the inside of Baptiste Moulin, can't get the job done. Soucek still stuck behind in 5th place at the moment. You can see Ollie Milroy just escaping in 3rd, and Soucek really wants to get on the podium. He wants to finish the season on a high, because he needs to get further ahead in the pit stop, and once he serves a handicap, he's still ahead the 2nd of the VSR Lambos as they fight to secure 2nd and 3rd in the points for both himself and his teammate Alfaisal Al-Zubair.
Robbie Foley, the American, in the Aston Martin going through. Car 97 in position 6. Ahead of Adam Carroll, they're coming up to lap traffic. Oscar Aristot in the 27 360 Racing Porsche moves out the way, the leaders go by. A replay of the start, it was under investigation. Joe Osborne from pole position, a perfect start from the Brit, but the Mercedes muscled up on the McLaren. Spinelli around the outside, tried to take the lead. Briefly for a few centimetres, he may have been in position, and running over the curb, that may have done the damage. That has eliminated the Antonelli Motorsport car from the race. On board with Andy Soucek back in the pack from grid 10. Says, move over, boys. I'll go around the outside. Andy Soucek in car 77 sits in behind Gerhard Theresa. He actually ran off the track as well. He was soon up into 7th to 6th, and he now runs in 5th place. This is on board with Michele Beretta, the champion from grid 19. Says, here I come, boys. Down the inside with one almighty Sen, but there's traffic left, right and centre. That is Marcus Pavarou. Tries the outside of the Honda. That was Christian Korsanowski to the left. He'll pick up the pole on the exit. The Inception Racing team, they were cheering on Joe Osborne, who was back to 3rd place, but recovered to take the lead by the end of the first lap with that brilliant move around turn 4. Andy Soucek has got by Carol Bash.
Yeah, we haven't seen what happened there, but he is up into 4th place now. Ollie Milroy, though, 3 seconds up the road, so he's really escaped while these two were battling. We were watching the replay at the start, almost self-policing the fact that Spinelli didn't go round to the left of the bollard as he should have, and then he's ended up getting damaged and being out of this race. There is our 2nd place car, Dre. Ollie Milroy very close to him now as the lap traffic is causing a few issues for Drouet, who's having to flash his lights to make sure they know he's coming. Teresa is past Moulin as well for 10th place, so that is a change of position of 2 Lamborghinis in 10th and 11th, and he'll be chasing Michele Beretta in 9th. There we can see Soucek in the background in that Porsche ahead of Carol Bash. Robbie Foley 1.8 seconds further back in 6th, and Adam Carroll kind of alone now in 7th place. He's got a 3.5 second gap to Foley in front of him and a 1.7 second gap to Ethan Simeone in 8th. But obviously he's going to come across these GT Cup Open Europe cars very soon as well. However, with 1.5 minutes left before the driver change window, I'd expect some GT teams to just pit straight away to get out of that traffic.
It will be interesting to see. We've got, what, 1 minute 30 until the pit stop window opens. The championship's already been decided, so it's basically most teams, most drivers trying to finish on the best possible note as we look to the 2022 season. Wow, that's how Carol Bash lost the place. Coming together, Oscar Aristo, Andy Soucek advantageously goes by the pole. So Carol Bash in traffic, loses time, loses the place as well. Back to P5 in 777. Andy Soucek says, muchas gracias, the half Spaniard, half Austrian. Maybe he said Dankeschön. Either way, he's come from grid 10, and the Porsche is now up into P4.
And obviously this is a circuit with some good memories, some bad memories. Obviously he won the Formula 2 title, the MSV Formula 2 title. So well, he raced here in GP2. I think he was leading the points in Formula Renault 3.5 prior to the final round, and then some disqualifications overturned and he lost the title here. But all in all, it's been a very good circuit for his career. He won the Spanish F3 title as well, now known as Euro Formula. So a very long history at this circuit and with the GT Sport package. The 72 McLaren of Joe Osborne now 6.8 seconds ahead. He's just had a warning flag though for track limits at turn 15. That's the final corner. I don't expect him to be pushing to the absolute limit, so potentially he was trying to clear lap traffic and just went too far outside the boundaries around the outside of the corner. With the driver change window now officially open as of 3 seconds ago, he's got the opportunity to pit at the end of this lap if he wants to. If he did, it would drop him, I don't think it'd lose him a lap, but it potentially drop into 20th or 21st, so he would still be in traffic. So he's got to really think here about when he wants to pit and equally when his teammate wants to get in the car.
Starting to torture the Michelin tyres. You can see him power slide at the exit of some of the faster curves here in Barcelona, this 16-corner track. Accelerates, puts the power to the ground, rockets out of the turns. Twin-turbo V8 power for the McLaren. We go back to the V10 Lamborghinis to a racer down the inside and takes the Belgian Baptiste Moulin. Nicely done. Moulin gives him space and the green machines trade positions. So Theresa now up into 10th place, although that's all about to go out the window because the pit stop window is open. So our timing screen is about to turn upside down as Joe Osborne, who has driven a brilliant opening stint, continues to lead 7 seconds ahead from Thomas Drouet as the first of the leaders pulls into pit lane. Andy Soucek to hand over to Al Faisal Al Zubair.
Fernando Forte does the same in GT Cup Open Europe. Also, the number 9 Mercedes of Ethan Simeoni, so he'll be handing over to Martin Kodrich. The second VSR Lambo, that's Baptiste Moulin, I think, handing over to Yuki Nomoto. And a few more of our GT Cup Open Europe cars. Now that's good news for the likes of Joe Osborne, who are staying out, because if you've got more of those slower cars going into the pit lane now, you're less likely to come out into traffic once you make your stop. The number 52 Ferrari as well, that is handing over to Cedric Spirizzoli in the Pro-Am class, and here is one of those pit stops in action.
So Joe Osborne stays out. Michele Beretta's championship has now officially come to an end. Frederick Schandorf to drive it to the checkered flag for the final time in 2021 as champions. The 991 Porsche, Dino Zamparelli behind the wheel. As Jan Klengelberg, the Swiss driver, gets out. Joe Osborne, the gap is 6 seconds to Thomas Drouet. So the traffic coming into effect. Thomas has actually caught up that a little bit to Joe, but he has tortured those Michelin tyres. We could see him power sliding just a few moments ago. Tries to keep it straight. Again, the back end steps out as he puts down nearly 600 horsepower to the ground. So Martin Kodrich behind the wheel to the bottom of your screen. And the race leader, Joe Osborne, almost on the tail of him. So the length of the main straight and the best part of one lap separates Joe Osborne from Martin Kodrich, who is in 17th place. 2 more Cup cars come down into pit lane.
Well, that's Thomas Drouet from 2nd place, actually. So
exactly. So 2 Mercedes cars, the GT4 Cup car, the 215 machine of August Macbeth, and then 2nd, Thomas Drouet to hand over to Jim Pla, who took pole position and finished 2nd yesterday.
And we've also got the other VSR Lambo of Schandorf and Breda, and the HP Racing International car of Teresa. And I think, we'll focus on this pit stop at Schandorf and Breda. So that's one of them out of the car, and the other one doing the final stint of the season. They were up, so they started in 19th place. They got up to 10th place in that first stint. They're going to drop back down to around 20th place with this pit stop as Joe Osborne goes round back up the hill. Our timing screen hasn't updated, so obviously it shows he is in the lead, but we don't think Ollie Milroy... Osborne hasn't stopped, has he? So he's almost a lap ahead of them. Ollie Milroy hasn't stopped either. It's actually the cars behind who have stopped and are now back down the order on the timing screen.
Jim Pla, the first car that has stopped, in 11th place. So it may just be brief, but we can say it accurately at this very point in time, just prior to the halfway point of the final race of the season. At the moment, it is a McLaren 1-2.
Here comes the Mercedes out of the pits. This was the car that was in 2nd place, was being driven by Thomas Drouet. Now it's Jim Pla. He's come out in 11th place, around a minute behind our leading car at the moment. There's the VSR Lambo right on his tail. Hasn't got the tyres up to temperature yet, so the number 19 VSR Lambo is going to be really pushing him through this first sector. The quicker you get a move done, the easier it will be to pull away. Once you're stuck behind, and you're trying to get your tyres up to temperature, as well as we see Jim Pla really defending into turn 4. That's Hamilton Rosberg 2016 all over again.
Exactly, in that very corner.
Yeah, the same swerving move down to the inside keeps the Yuki Nomoto now out the pits in the 2nd of the Lambos. He is in 15th place. And the first of the Lambos, that's Breda and Schandorf. Schandorf's really trying to attack Jim Pla right now. Of course, Jim Pla, the Lambo's already scored the title. Jim Pla hasn't been doing this series all season, so there's no kind of points battle going on here. So he's thinking further up the road, what are the McLarens doing? How quickly can I catch up with them? But he's now got a GT Cup Open Europe car in the way. That is Jan Lauritsen, I think, in the 54 Porsche. And they come back down the hill. You see the 2 Lambos behind. So Joe Osborne 10 seconds ahead of Ollie Milroy. Now a 1 minute 17 second gap. And actually he's going to dive down the outside. The number 17 Lambo side by side. Avoid contact at turn 10. The VSR Lambo stays ahead. So Jim Pla, 1 minute 32 off our leader. Now Feisenhauser 1 minute 17 seconds behind. So that's a 20-second jump that Porsche has made over the Lambos.
An aggressive move from Schandorf as we look at Yuki Nomoto all over the back of Jim Pla. Now finished 3rd on the podium yesterday, did Yuki Nomoto. Jim Pla immediately in front of him, finished 2nd. Gets a brief tow from one of the 360 Racing Porsches as they blast down the main straight at over 260 k's an hour. Yuki Nomoto also gets the tow down into turn 1. So the 3 Lamborghinis on your screen with some cup cars in between. Yuki Nomoto, his final stint of the 2021 season. The Belgian Jan Lauritsen down in pit lane for his final compulsory stop of the 2021 championship. We have just ticked over the halfway mark, the half-hour point of race 14 of the championship. Adam Carroll also down into pit lane in the Balf Motorsport Audi, the 2017 champions. Adam, the Northern Irishman, jumps out. Sean Balf, the Englishman, in for his final stint of the 2021 championship. This is Marcos Pavarud in the Sol Honda down into pit lane. Pavarud out, Jens Renault Mola, who has been really impressive in the last few races, even in the rain at Monza prior to that. At the Red Bull Ring, Marcos Pavarud, he's a super talent. The 11 of Marcus, the Norwegian, Jens Renault Mola. The Dane, Stanislav Jedlinski, gets in for his final run of the 2021 championship. And Jim Clark still holds second place. We say that is provisionally once the pit stops have worked themselves out. The 93 Mercedes, Jean Font takes over from Daniel Diaz-Varela, who's been on the podium multiple times in the GTOpen International Championship in the past few seasons. Jim Clark pulls away a couple of car lengths that time.
And it looks like it's been a very good stop for the Audi because it's emerged ahead of the Mercedes and the Lamborghinis. The Mercedes might get past into turn one. The leading of the VSR Lambos, that is Yuki Nomoto at the wheel. He is also going to get through. So potentially just had to wait a little at the pit exit there because there's a quick stop by the Balf Motorsport crew. We've got the next two Lambos and the 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes behind. Jan Font actually swapped into the second of the ASP Merc, so that's the number 93 car. That's in 11th place at the moment. We've still got Osborne and Milroy out front. Milroy is now closing in on Joe Osborne, half a second a lap. He is catching him. It's still a 9.5 second lead, pretty big. Carol Bash in third place, 14.9 seconds off Robbie Foley, 17. And then our leading car that is pitted, our Faisal Al-Zubair. Timing screen will take a while to update, but it's around 1 minute 12 seconds at the moment. So that is a, well, if you have a 70-second pit stop, you might come out ahead, you might not. It's a clear GT4 traffic to what was the second and third place car. Here's the number 51 driver change. So Oswald Negri will get out that car and Joy Striebelman will be getting in. That's going to be from 5th place. So Al-Zubair will gain another spot. Potentially we're going to have a McLaren versus Porsche fight for victory here, I think.
Depending on how the pit stops go for the likes of Osborne, Milroy, remember the McLarens are still running 1-2. Carroll is in 3rd place. Robbie Foley, we could find the Balf Motorsport Audi inside the top 5. They're 10th outright, but they've already pitted. Osborne, Milroy, Bash, Foley, and Dominic Schrammel also have not pitted. Sean Balf sharing the car with Adam Carroll. They're in 10th place in the Sol Audi. Down the inside, this was Frederick Schandorf going by the aforementioned Audi just a few moments ago. Frederick has really shown some aggression in the last few races. That's what's won him the title. Clean move down into the newly reprofiled turn 10 here in Barcelona, and the Great Dane makes the move and moves up a place. Sean Balf moves back to 11th spot, but has already stopped. Car 50, Philip Turnkins and Bas Shelton.
And that is from the GT Cup Open Europe lead with the number 53 that was chasing it from 2nd place. That's also coming to the pit, so we'll have a new leader in GT Cup Open Europe, the number 97 Aston as well. That it was Robbie Foley at the wheel. He'll be handing over as well. He's going to be dropping out the top 5. So potentially we're going to have a very shaken up order after these pit stops. Philip Tonkins is still provisionally in the lead of GT Cup Open Europe because they have left this late. There's only 1.5 minutes left of the driver change window, and the only cars that haven't pitted are our top 3 and Dominic Schrammel in the brown car, number 15 Merc. That's coming to the pits as well. That was down in quite far down the order. Mario Hirsch. So that's from 5th place. So he is pitted as well now. He's going to be dropping down the order. The Aston Martin has completed its stop. It's going to be exiting the box soon. Osborne 9.8 seconds ahead of Milroy. Osborne responded to Milroy's pace. Now Milroy's up to it again. He's closed back in on Osborne. We're looking at Faisal Al-Zubair in 6th place. 50.4 seconds, no, 1 minute 15. Timing screen's updating. 1 minute 15 seconds off our lead car now. Now it was 1 minute 20 roughly before, well, just at the pit stop then. 1 minute 17, it's slowing you closer. Sean Balfe looks like he's got ahead of the Lamborghini potentially. Oh no, he's actually being chased by the HP racing car and the 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes. So you can see the gap, the pit straight. That VSR Lambo has already gone several seconds ahead of Sean Balfe in just a single lap.
A fabulous fight for the final positions inside the top 10 as the race leader, Nick Moss, pulls down into pit lane. The Inception Racing team go to work. Nick Moss and Joe Osborne.
And they're double stacking the pit stop. That's a bit risky for Optimum there, but...
They are a good team. They are a crack, world-class team. Inception Racing go to work. Carol Bash also pulling into pit lane, up into position 3. Look at the damage to the front of the 777 Liv Mercedes. This battle rages on. Jan Seifert goes by Sean Balfe, and Martin Kodrich almost takes the both of them. He's gone by, follows the Lamborghini through.
Now Balfe has lost, I think, 15 seconds in 2.5 laps with, you know, just through racing side by side, and the Mercedes are still going side by side. But the Green Tiger HP Lambo, they're going to come down the hill. The outside line might be the strongest one, almost touch wheels. Lambo's going to be later on the brakes, takes the inside, but Mercedes is going to tuck in, try and be tighter into the apex as they go back up the hill at turn 10, but it will still be the inside for the Lambo at turn 11. He is ahead, but the rear wheels span. I think we could hear that then as they go to the crest of the hill, come back down. Hard on the brakes, Mercedes is going to try and get through. Lambo stays ahead into the final corners now. We're going to see our proper order because this is the first lap post the pit stop's been completed, but the order might change again because Mercedes almost got down the inside again into that final corner. It's allowed Balfe to close back in. So Nick Moss and Brendan Irebe are out of the pits. 9.7 second gap between 8.8 now, the timing screen's updating. 8.8 between Moss and Al-Faisal Al-Zubair. Then Brendan Irebe's in third, 14 seconds back. Carol Baj, Michael Dinnan, Jim Pla, Yuki Namoto, Frederick Schandorf, and then we get back down to this battle. Jan Seifert, Martin Kodrich, and Sean Balfe. That is our top 10.
A big, brave move there from Sean Balfe, who was just too far back to pull it off. As we look at Michael Dinan in the 97 Aston Martin. Just defending there from Jim Pla, who's fallen back into 5th place. So Nick Moss is at the moment in the race lead. We are nearing the end of the pit stop window. In fact, it has now officially ended. We have got 21 minutes to race in the 2021 championship. Michael Dinan at the moment 1 step off the podium. So as it stands, Nick Moss has held the race lead in the 72 McLaren. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair in 2nd place. Brendan Irebe still in 3rd. And Michael Dinan on your screen, car 97, the Aston Martin, step off the podium. But Jim Pla in the 87 ACA car, all over the back of him.
And the car just behind them as well is Yuki Namoto. He's the fastest of anyone at 1 minute 46.1 last time by. And he's actually come across there and he's been spun round. So that is 2 Lambos there, goes wide, Aston Martin ahead and potentially stalled the car at the exit of the chicane there. We're going to need to see a replay because it looked like one of the cars came across. Yuki Namoto was behind, dived down the inside, got it all crossed up, and potentially that has undone all his hard work.
Jim Pla with a big move down the inside. Michael Dinan having nowhere to go as the sister Lamborghini goes through and takes the place on the Aston Martin. We believe the Lamborghini has just got going at the end of the chicane. We'll try and get a replay in just a moment. Take a look at this down the inside. Jim Pla in the Mercedes with one almighty send into the chicane. There was no space, but he made some. Over the ripple strip, the car would not steer. The Aston turned in. There was a Lamborghini. He collects the back of the Japanese driver, Yuki Namoto, who goes around immediately on the brakes. It was not Yuki Namoto's fault at all. You can't even say it was the fault of Michael Dinan. It was just simple racing. It was brutal, it was ruthless as Schandorf down the inside. Another opportunistic move, but the Dane, the champion, has gone down the inside and taken the place. He's in P5.
And we're looking at our leader, Nick Moss, right now. He has lost 2 seconds almost this lap to Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, who's chasing is now less than 5 seconds away from the race lead. That car was at the bottom of the top 10 at the start, was up to kind of 5th or 6th when Andy Soucek was in the car, but since the pit stops has really closed in on the lead. Moss is going to cross the line at 1 minute 50.046. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair 1 minute 47.977, so that is 2.06, I think, faster. And he's now 4.4 seconds behind. Brendan Irie in 3rd place, 12.7 seconds back. He's only got a 4-second advantage to Jim Pla, and we've been following this battle between Pla, Schandorf, Dinnan, and Emoto, who's actually only lost 2 places. Emoto is down to 8th place.
Brendan Irie in position 3. So Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, remember the 77 Porsche started grid 10, and they are now just, well, they're 4 seconds off the lead of the final race of the GTOpen International Championship. Philip Turnkin's now in pit lane. This is an unscheduled stop.
And that was, I think the car was 2nd in class just before it pitted, was leading prior to the pit stops. An incident involving cars 97, 87 and 19 under investigation. That is, of course, the Emoto and Dinnan incident. That was essentially 2 cars racing, and then it became a 3-car fight at the apex of the corner, at which point you really only need to have 1 car there. And unfortunately, Emoto was the one that lost out there. Another 10th of a second gain by Al-Faisal Al-Zubair there. Jan Lauritsen, we're following the GT Cup Open Europe leader. He's got almost a 7-second advantage in his class now, but he's got the GTOpen cars on his tail again already, so he's going to be having to look at his mirrors soon.
Yes, the McLaren is ranging up behind him. This would be a fabulous finish to the season for Nick Moss if they can hang on and take a famous victory here this afternoon in the 14th race of the GTOpen International Championship. Jan Lauritsen, he is leading the GT Cup class. The Belgian enjoying himself, looking for his 3rd race win. Of course, the GT Cup cars are racing with us at 5 of the 7 rounds of the 2021 championship. The McLaren down the straight. Here is Schandorf, so he's not too far behind. As Jim Pla in 4th place, the McLaren of Brendan Irie, the American, disappearing down into turn 1. Michael Dynan, the American, in the Aston, with the 53 Cup car of Nicholas van Dierendonk just ahead into turn 1. And then Yuki Nemoto, that's Jan Seifert in the Green Tiger. And then Martin Kodric. It will not be the Croatians' day 24 hours after taking their 2nd win of the series. He's in 10th place at the moment. The 5 Olymp racing car with a left rear.
Puncture? I think it might be a puncture. It looks like it's delaminating. If it was a wheel, it would probably roll off entirely, and yet totally delaminated left rear tyre. A shame for the number 5 car. Don't think we'll have a safety car, but if we did, there's a 17-second gap between Frederick Schandorf in 5th and Nick Moss ahead. We've got 17 minutes left of this race, and he's lapping a 2nd a lap faster than Nick Moss up front. We've got 1 minute 47s for our top 4 cars. Schandorf is in the 1 minute 46s in 5th, and he's rapidly closing in on Jim Pla, and then Brendan Irie is another few seconds up the road.
Stanislav Yetlinski almost certainly has picked up debris, because these Michelin tyres, they're virtually bulletproof normally. They just do not fail like that. Almost certainly he's run over some carbon, or possibly a ripple strip, as we look at him holding up his countryman, his teammate, and that's the reason why. Yep.
Splitter goes straight into the tyre.
The 2 Olympic racing teammates, the 2 poles. Can you believe it? So it was not a tyre failure. It was debris and a puncture.
What has it done to the lead Olymp car, though? Because obviously he's lost 2 places there to the Lambo and the Mercedes, but has Karel Basch got any more damage? Currently in 10th place, only a 2nd behind Kodric, but we're not following him now, so we don't know if he's losing any more ground. And he crosses the line. So behind Kodric, 2/10 of a second. We're looking at the GT Cup Open Europe battle. We're going to go back to that now, so we can see the gap here. There is the HP racing car, there's the 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes, and there is the 2nd Mercedes, which was the Olymp one, which was ahead prior, but has lost its front splitter against its teammate, which is a bit unfortunate. The gap at the front, though, is closed down by half a second again. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, 3.4 seconds behind Nick Moss, with 15 minutes to go. Brendan Irie, a further 10 seconds behind. He's the slowest of this top 4 cars. Jim Pla, he's now broken into the 1 minute 46s. only 1.6 behind Irie, but the battle to watch at the moment is for 8th place between Jan Seifert and Martin Kodrich.
Martin Kodrich in the 926 Motorsport car. This is a good performance also from Jan Seifert. The HP Racing International Lamborghini, ragged over the edge that time though. And that'll give Kodrich hope to take up a place at least. He's in position 9 in car 9. The Olymp Racing Mercedes in the background. There is Sean Balfe just outside the top 10.
And these cars are going to come across the other Olymp car, the one that had a puncture, although he might potentially get to the pit lane. He's gone all the way around the lap with that delaminated tyre. Hopefully he's going to get to pit entry without getting in the way of anyone. We'll keep our eyes peeled for that as our leading cars come around. Yeah, he's made it into the pit lane, so he's got out of the way just in time as these lead cars go through. Nick Moss, 1.6 seconds ahead of Al-Faisal Al-Zubair now. So our lead battle is really hotting up. Brendan Irie only has a 1/10 of a second gap to Jim Pla. You can't even see because he's that close to the rear of the McLaren. Doesn't think about making a move at turn 1, but he's definitely going to be lining up actually on the exit. He's got better traction. The McLaren takes to the curbs. Jim Pla up into 3rd place now. And that's Frederick Schandorf right behind them. He'll be wanting to take off 2 in 1 at turn 4.
Frederick Schandorf, watch him close up on the back and try and make a move as well. Jim Pla has gone through looking at his 2nd podium in 24 hours. Schandorf, the newly crowned champion, is right behind the McLaren, tries to dive down the inside. Up Brendan Irie, who goes wide on the exit. Here comes Schandorf. The V10 Lamborghini versus the twin-turbo V8 McLaren down the inside, and the Italian supercar goes by the best of the British with the American Brendan Irie at the wheel. Jim Pla has gone by. He's up into 3rd, looking at his 2nd podium here in the final round of the GTOpen International Championship. Brendan Irie, he's gone back to 5th place. He's lost the final step of the podium in just a few corners. The 51 of the American Jay Schreibman moves over and gives way for his countryman. Brendan Irie picks up the place on the AF Corsa Ferrari. 12 minutes remaining in the 2021 championship season. Jim Pla, the ACA Sport Mercedes, in 3rd place. The Porsche is in 2nd, and the McLaren still on top. 1.3 seconds to Al-Faisal Al-Zubair. Down the inside, he got the run on the exit. The move was made right here as Brendan Irie ran that little bit wide. Look at Schandorf work the wheel, trying to put the power to the ground, keep the inside line and keep the car as straight as possible. Frederick Schandorf, remember they started back on grid 15. He's up into 4th. 1 step off the podium. Jim Pla started grid 2, he's 3rd. And Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, they started at grid 10. Finishing 2nd in the championship, they are 2nd. They are catching Nick Moss. The gap is seesawing. It's about 1.5 seconds at the moment. Just over 11 minutes remaining, the 14th race of the magnificent International GTOpen Championship for 2021. You are watching us live from the Barcelona Grand Prix circuit here in Spain. The checkered flag will wave in just over 11 minutes' time. Nick Moss looking at taking a brilliant victory here this afternoon, but the Omani Al-Faisal Al-Zubair is chasing him. Wants to end the season on a high after missing out on the Drivers' Championship. Schandorf, though, he's driving aggressively. Jim Pla in the Mercedes. This will be a fabulous fight in the dying stages. 2 very different cars. The monstrous 6.2 litre V8 Mercedes versus the screaming V10 Lamborghini.
And
front engine, mid-engine, and yes, this is Kodrich trying to get by Jan Seifert for 8th place.
And we got our leaders go across the line as well, so the Mercedes just stays ahead. Very good job there. Actually, we've got a 5-second penalty as well for Jan Antaszewski in the GT Cup Open Europe car, and the Lambo's just gone straight off into the gravel, cost himself time there, so he's not going to be threatening for position next time around. That Mercedes is currently in 9th place. Well, it's chosen in 9th place. Carol Bash is actually on our timing screen showing up in 10th, but that's clearly not the case, as we can see on track. Talking of being at Barcelona, we're going to be back here next year on October 15th to 16th. Will be the season finale, as we've got 3 cars go across the line. There's a big battle. There is our leading car, Nick Moss, goes straight over, and that is going to be a slam dunk reprimand, because clearly he didn't make an attempt to stick to the left of the bollard. Alphys Lauzabert 6 tenths behind now. Jim Pla it's 11 seconds back, but a second faster with 9 minutes to go. It's closing up. I think potentially if Alphys Lauzabert doesn't make a move soon, we could actually have Jim Pla and Schandorf come into contention, because they are the quickest cars on track right now. And further down the order, Sean Balfe in 10th place with Jan Seifert and Martin Kodrich, and a little up the road, Michael Dinnan as well. Big battle for position there at the bottom of the top 10.
A nervous moment for the race leader, Nick Moss. He runs wide. Alphys Lauzabert.
And car 87 has been given a 3-second time penalty for a causing collision. That is Jim Pla. Car 97 as well. That's the other Mercedes, I think. So
yeah, no, that's the Aston Martin, of course.
The Aston Martin. So
that incident in the chicane a few
both
laps
of them
ago.
are being held attributable for that. I'm quite surprised by that, because obviously they were having their own battle, and then Yuki Nomoto essentially chose to get involved at the apex of the corner and paid the cost. We saw a shot of the Lechner Racing team watching on there. Their driver, Alphys Lauzabert, is now 6 tenths off the race lead, currently held by Nick Moss. The Optima Motorsport car has actually held the lead from, technically not from the very start, because it did lose it for 3 corners, but officially it's led every single lap of this race, I think, and we're 28 laps in with 8 minutes to go.
Andy Soucek watching down in the Lechner Racing garage. He's already changed out of the race suit. He may need to put it back on if he stands on the podium in 8 minutes' time. Alphys Lauzabert has got the McLaren in his sights. He's only, what, 3-4 car lengths ahead. Nick Moss, a nervous moment into turn 1 just a few laps ago, has settled down, found a rhythm. He needs to bring it home. We tick over 52 minutes raced in the final round of the GTOpen International Championship. Yes, the 2022 calendar has been announced. We get underway on the first day of May at the Portimao circuit down in the Algarve region in 2022. The 22nd of May at Paul Ricard in the south of France, Spa-Francorchamps. June 19, the 10th of July at the Hungaroring. The 11th of September at the fabulous Red Bull Ring in Austria. September 25 at Monza, the Temple of Speed. And we're back here in Barcelona in, what, 50 weeks' time, 49 weeks' time. The 2022 Championship Final on the 16th of October here at Circuit de Catalunya. This is the final race, the final minutes, the dying stages of the Championship Final for 2021. The Omani with the Brit in the British supercar. Joe Osborne down in pit lane, nervously watching on. Nick Moss pulls out of the slipstream, gets something of a tow from one of the 360 racing Porsches. Fernando Fortes does the right thing, stays on the racing line. Alphys Lauzabert hard on the brakes down into turn 1. Nick Moss in P1, no mistake through turn 1 that time. We've probably got 3, possibly 4 laps to go. We've raced for almost 54 minutes. Go, boy, go! Joey's saying wants a victory here this afternoon in the championship final. Nick Moss driving the wheels off the 72 McLaren. Alphys Lauzabert doing likewise.
We can see the gain he made from the slipstream there. 3 tenths of gain over Lauzabert. It was 3 tenths between them, now it's 6 tenths. Further back, we got Jim Pla 9.8 seconds behind in 3rd place, but that battle for a final podium spot is still raging on between himself and Fredrik Schandorf, who is only 8 tenths of a second behind. We're going to stick with this lead battle. Nick Moss and Joe Osborne have led this whole race pretty much from lap 1. 6 tenths of a second to Alphys Lauzabert, who has actually won this year with Andy Soucek. They were fighting for the title until yesterday, and that is actually the Lamborghini down the inside of the Brendan Irebe car.
Yuki Nomoto up into P5.
Yeah, so that's a changed position. The Vincenzo Suspiria Lambos are now 4th and 5th, and the second of our Pro-Am cars, which is Brendan Irebe, is now down to 6th place.
This is turning into a nail-biter, the series grand final here in Spain. Alphys Lauzabert goes very deep under brakes. The McLaren rockets out of turn 16, gets the run down the straight. Alphys Lauzabert will get the slipstream. This was Yuki Nomoto down the inside of the American Brendan Irebe. An aggressive move, did not make contact. They both ran wide into the marbles. But Yuki has gone through and taken P5. Remember, they started way back on grid 19. Nicely driven through the first few corners. on this lap, the 31st of the 14th race of the 2021 championship. Brought to you, of course, by GT Sport Organisation. This world-class championship, which is looking bigger and better than ever in 2022. New cars, new drivers, new teams on the way. 2022 gets underway on the first day of May in Portugal at the Portimão circuit. You don't want to miss it. If we've managed to race through the nightmare that has been the world over for the past 18 months, the future is looking as bright as the sunshine here in Barcelona. Nick Moss, the Brit, would love to end the 2021 season on a high, and he's just withstood the challenge from Al Zubair for the moment. 1 second the gap. Certainly not for the final step of the podium. Frederick Schandorf over the back of Jim Pla. They're fought from grid 15. Schandorf in 63 for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing on the back of Jim Pla. Down into turn 10.
And Yuki Namoto has just been handed a 3-second penalty. We haven't been given a reason why, but he was involved in that freeway incident as well at the chicane. The other 2 cars are held attributable to it earlier and were penalised. Potentially he's been penalised as well. Would be a bit strange if all 3 were, but it's going to drop him back behind Brendan Ireep, who he's just passed. He's 2.677 seconds ahead. A 3-second penalty would obviously put him back a spot as we go to the other VSR Lambo in 4th place. Frederick Schandorf with 3 minutes 19 left on the clock. He's chasing Jim Pla for that final podium position. There's now 1.2 seconds between our top 2 cars, Nick Moss and Al-Faisal Al-Zubair. So Moss is actually pulling away by 4 tenths on that last lap. Jim Pla pretty much evenly matched with Frederick Schandorf. Yuki Namoto in 5th. He's got it up to 3.2 seconds, so Namoto is now provisionally up into that 5th place that he took on track. Here is a freeway battle between our top 2 cars, and actually that's a 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes, it looks like. Oh, no, sorry, it's one of the GT Cup Open Mercedes. Couldn't tell from the front end there, but the Porsche has actually been held up. It's going to allow him, though, to come down into the 2nd sector lap and really attack Nick Moss. That was a 1.2 second lead, back down to 0.3 of a second into the final 2.5 minutes of this race. Potentially we're going to have 2 more laps of this fighting.
Lap 32 of the GTOpen Championship final. There's an opportunity for the Omani Al Zubair. A lot of experience racing in Porsche Carrera Cup in the last few seasons, and would dearly love to take a victory here this afternoon in the championship final in Spain. They took the victory at Spa-Francorchamps earlier on in the season. Missed out on the championship. We saw Andy Soucek down in pit lane. Nick Moss, the 72 McLaren, desperately, nervously trying to hang on to the lead. The Michelin tyres absolutely tortured. On a beautiful day here in Barcelona, Spain, down through the chicane, there is traffic once again. It is the 5-car of Stanislav Jedlinski. Does do the right thing, fortunately, although Al Zubair will just get the run. He's right glued to the back of the McLaren. Nick Moss knows it. Goes to the right side of the straight, to the left of your screen is the McLaren. Al Zubair gets the slipstream down into turn 1. Nick Moss just drives to the corner. Al Zubair around the outside. We know how good the Porsche is under brakes. Not good enough. Moss just holds the lead. This is the final lap of the final race of the 2021 championship season.
And the Porsche is going to have better traction going over to turn 4. We've seen drama here many times in the past. Is he going to be close enough to look at making a move? He darts down the inside a little bit, but it's not going to be close enough. I think Frederick Schandorf as well is into 3rd place because the 87 of Jim Pla had a 3 or a 5-second time penalty from the earlier incident, as did the 97 and Yuki Namoto. So that's provisionally swapping those around, as is Michael Dinnan and Martin Kodrich behind, and of course Yuki Namoto, who has just overtaken Brendan Ireep. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair getting all over in the mirrors there as they go back up the hill. There's going to be an opportunity at turn 10 as they come round to the right-hander, which will take them back down. There's only a few corners left of this race. Can Al-Faisal Al-Zubair get past Nick Moss?
The leaders come down into the newly reprofiled turn 10 here in Barcelona. Moss covers his line. The final few corners, the final opportunity coming up for the Omani. The McLaren of Nick Moss started from pole position with Joe Osborne behind the wheel. They climb the highest part of the circuit down through the chicane for the final time. One almighty send from Al Zubair coming up. He's too far back. He won't do it, goes in too deep. The McLaren, the best of the British, accelerates. That checkered flag is about to wave. Nice! Joe Osborne take a fantastic victory here in the season final of the GTOpen International Championship here in Barcelona. Al Faisal Al Zubair, together with Andy Suchik, a brilliant drive for Lechner Racing to come home in second place, just 0.6 of a second behind. Frederick Schandorf crosses the line in P3. Remember, they started back on grid 15. What a race here this afternoon. A fitting final for what has been a magnificent 2021 championship. Huge congratulations to Joe Osborne. Did the job this morning, putting the car on pole position. Nick Moss, his teammate, brings it home.
And those penalties applied means Michael Dinnan has dropped 2 places. He's now down to 9th place. Yuki Nomoto held on to 5th ahead of Brendan Irie. We're going to see our GT Cup Open Europe winner come across the line very soon. This is Jan Lauritsen, who has a 25-second advantage, I believe, in this class. He's going to come through the final few corners. All of the titles have been wrapped up. They were all done on Saturday. It's just about race honours today. He comes round the final corner for the final time this season. He's not going to drive another corner in GT Cup Open Europe this year. Crosses the line for victory in the GT Cup Open Europe class.
Jan Lauritsen with another victory in GT Cup. Huge congratulations to Nick Moss and the Inception Racing McLaren team, Optimum Motorsport, a world-class team, and they have won a nail-biting finish here this afternoon. Across the line, Nicholas van Dierendonk in the 53 car will finish second in the Cup category, crosses the line, finishing 18th outright as well. The Belgian-Dutch contingent, they're strong here in the GT Cup category. Great to have them on the grid in the International GT Open Championship. Fernando Fortes crosses the line. Mauro Marcio, Stefano Bozzoni, Stanislav Jedlinski, after that puncher, does cross the line as the final finisher. This is the race winner. The best of British, the British team, the British drivers, the British supercar, all in the final race of a magnificent 2021 championship season. Nick Moss takes the victory for Inception Racing. Al Faisal Al Zubair just behind, 0.6 of a second behind. And then Frederick Schandorf, P3, after starting grid 15. The newly crowned champions, that was a great recovery after a disaster in qualifying this morning. Pla, Nomoto, Brendan Irie slipped to 6th in car 7th at the end. Kodrich, yesterday's race winner, ahead of Jan Seifert, Michael Tynan in the TF Sport car, and Sean Balfe brings the Balfe Motorsport Audi home in 10th. Jedlinski, Bash, the Honda was 12th, ahead of Spiditz, Wally, Delacour. Diaz Varela Font ahead of Hirsch Schrammel. Then we go to Schreibman Lauritsen, who won the Cup category. The Drivers' Championship confirmed that Schandorf and Beretta have won the 2021 International GT Open Championship. Andy Suchek finishes in 2nd place. Victory today in the 14th race of the season goes to Nick Moss and Joe Osborne.
And coming second in this race means Al Faisal Al Zubair secures 3rd place in the standings as well, ahead of the 2nd VSR crew. Fortunately, the message that the penalty was applied to the Mercedes wasn't actually communicated to the 87 crew, and they ended up driving into the top 3 area, and they've had to rejig all the signs so they can get back. But a brilliant drive all the same from that 87 Mercedes car. We had battles all the way through.
Good push. Yeah, man. Basically the 4th.
There is our 2021 champion, Frederick Schandorf. He'll be getting out of the car in 3rd place in this race.
Good judgment. You didn't slow him down a bit and accelerate.
Third place here this afternoon for the champions of 2021. Michele Beretta took the start. Frederick Schandorf took it home onto the podium in 3rd place. Andy Suchek, his 2nd home race of the season, handed over to Al Faisal Al Zubair, who drove brilliantly, did the 23-year-old Omani, to finish in 2nd, just 0.6 of a second behind the race winners, Nick Moss and Joe Osborne. The 72 Optimum Motorsport McLaren takes victory in the final race of a fantastic International GT Open Championship. The leaders are down, or the race winners are down with Alfredo in pit lane.
Nick Moss, Joe Osborne. What a way to finish the season, Nick. And it's a tremendous result, and of course after a complicated season.
Yeah, complicated, yeah. Yeah, Barcelona is kind of our sort of home track, really. I think we must have Spanish blood somewhere, maybe. But no, I love this track. I love everything about it. I love, you know, in comparison to where I normally stand, this is my fastest track, so I just really enjoyed that. That was really cool. I didn't like the back markers as much, though. They weren't as fun. So, thank you.
Thank you. Perfect stint from Nick, perfect stint from Joe, starting from the pole, but it was tough, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the start I thought was good. Got a good jumper in the Mercs, obviously got a lot of torque. They both came past, and I hedged my bets that they were going to sort of run each other off at 4, and I kept it slow and got back past, and then yeah, just smashed some laps out. But my job was super easy. It was all on Nick. Last year we won here, and I'm taking all the credit for last year, but this year was all on Nick. He just smashed out, drove like a pro. He was closer to a pro than an AM. When you see some of the AMs out there, they're terrible. This man today was on fire, holding up pros, pulling away from pros, all on Nick Moss. I had nothing to do today.
Good. I'm sure you'll come back to Barcelona. Enjoy the podium now. Well done, guys.
Cheers. Cheers, guys.
Race 14 of the 2021 championship got underway here at Barcelona in Spain. Joe Osborne from pole position in the 72 McLaren got a good jump, but he was muscled out of the lead by the two Mercedes cars down into turn 1. By the end of the first lap, though, he pulled a brilliant move to retake the lead. Carol Bash drove superbly the Mercedes, which were dominant in the early part of the weekend. Not quite so in race 2 here this afternoon. Loris Spinelli, an early retirement after running in 2nd place. Ollie Milroy, a good stint from him in the 7 McLaren. Carol Bash coming into contact with one of the Cup cars and losing the place at the same time to Andy Soucek. He was down into pit lane. His championship was over as he handed over to his teammate Al-Faisal Al-Zubair. Frederick Schandorf just picked them off one by one as the race leading car made a very late stop. Nick Moss taking the wheel. This was the moment of the race. Yuki Namoto turned around inadvertently, you must say, by the Aston Martin. Jan Lauritsen would go on to take victory in the GT Cup category here in Barcelona, the final race of the year. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair brought the gap down from 4 seconds to just half a second at that checkered flag. It was the best of British, the British team, the British supercar win here the championship final of the GT Open International Series here in Spain. Nick Moss and Joe Osborne, we heard from the two winners, speaking with Alfredo just a few moments ago. The best of British comedy, it sounded like. Almost a 2-act comedy act. Great to see Jesus Pereira, the manager, the owner of this magnificent organisation, which is GT Sport Organisation, the Madrid-based company which present to you year after year this world-class GT Open International Championship. Michele Beretta, Frederick Schandorf, remember they started back on grid 15. A no-nonsense drive from both Mick and the Great Dane to come home on the 3rd step of the podium. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, a brilliant talent, did not put a Michelin tyre out of place here this afternoon. Finishes 2nd with Andy Soucek. Nick Moss takes the victory together with Joe Osborne in the McLaren in the final round of the GT Open International Championship. What a fantastic championship here in the sunshine of Spain. We started at Paul Ricard in the south of France. We have new champions, and the British team of Nick and Joe take the final race of what has been a sensational GTOpen International Championship. We hope you've enjoyed every single race. We will see you on the first day of May in Portugal for the 2022 GTOpen International Championship. We say adios from Barcelona. See you next year. The Pro-Am podium to take place here in Barcelona, the 14th race of a magnificent championship. Standing back on the top step of the podium will be Nick and Joe after winning the race outright here at the Spanish Formula One Grand Prix circuit, the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, here in the northwest of Spain.
Esa tercera posición, la segunda sería para Brendan Didive con Oli Milroy. The second place con el McLaren.
Third place in the Pro-Am Championship. Final race of the season for HP Racing. Jan Seifert and Gerhard Theresa, the Austrian-German team. Inception Racing, they have finished 1-2 in the Pro-Am category as well. Brendan Nyreeb in second place. The American with Ollie Milroy, and back on the top step, they won the podium outright, and they've also won the Pro-Am category for Inception Racing. Optimum Motorsport, Nick Moss and Joe Osborne.
Ahora sí, esta es la fotogona. Gerard, Jan, Brendan, Oli, Nick, Joe, Osborne. Se han ocupado la victoria, nos cogen las ampollas, los alzas que no.
We'll continue with the AM podium here in just a moment in the final race of the season. The drivers about to come out onto the podium. Some new drivers on the steps here this afternoon as well, which is great to see. Great to see the crowd back in the stands. We expect them back at 100% in 2022. Portimao on the Algarve coast in the south of Portugal, the first day of May for the first round of the 2022 International GTOpen Championship. The AM podium, the drivers make their way up to the third step. Car 5, the Polish team, Olymp Racing, Stanislav Jodlinski and Christian Korzenowski finish in third place. Second place for AF Corse back in the GTOpen International Championship. Osvaldo Negri and Jay Schreidman, and taking the victory for Vaporo Motorsport, Daniel Diaz Varela and Jean Font from here in Spain. thanks for your company. It has been a magnificent championship. We'll see you for the GTOpen International Championship starting on the first day of May in 2022 at the Portimão circuit in Portugal. Adios from Barcelona. See you next year.